Living on pure emotion is the secret to unlocking your true potential, and I'm about to share the insights that could change your life. Today, we're going to dive into the secrets that God shares with us about embracing and living through our emotions. We often feel lost and uncertain about how to navigate our emotional landscapes, but what if I told you that God has been speaking to us about this all along? In the Bible, we find numerous passages where God reveals the importance of emotional honesty, healing, and balance. He invites us to express our true feelings, to seek comfort in Him, and to live a life that overflows with love and compassion. As we explore these secrets, I want you to keep an open heart and mind. Be prepared to receive a new perspective on how to live a life that is authentic, meaningful, and connected to your emotions. Emotional honesty is the foundation of a healthy emotional life. God encourages us to express our true feelings without fear of judgment or rejection. He wants us to be real, to be authentic, and to be honest with ourselves and others about how we feel. When we hide behind masks of pretense, we create a sense of disconnection from ourselves and from others. We begin to feel like we're living a lie, and that lie can slowly suffocate us. But when we choose to be emotionally honest, we open ourselves up to deeper connections, more meaningful relationships, and a greater sense of freedom. God wants us to know that our emotions are valid, that they matter, and that they're an essential part of who we are. He created us to feel deeply, to love passionately, and to live authentically. In Psalm 139, David writes, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts." This is a prayer of emotional honesty, where David invites God to search his heart and to know his deepest feelings. Emotional healing is another secret that God shares with us. He provides guidance on how to overcome pain, how to find comfort, and how to rise above our struggles. He knows that we've been hurt, that we've been wounded, and that we've been broken. But He also knows that we can be healed, that we can be restored, and that we can be made new again. God invites us to bring our brokenness to Him, to lay our pain at His feet, and to let Him heal us from the inside out. He promises to bind up our wounds, to comfort our hearts, and to set us free from the shackles of emotional pain. In the book of Isaiah, we find a beautiful promise. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. This is a reminder that God is our healer, our comforter, and our Savior. God reveals the significance of joy and gratitude as essential emotions that connect us to a higher purpose. These emotions lift our gaze above the circumstances of life and focus our hearts on the goodness and love of God. When we cultivate joy and gratitude, we begin to see the world in a new light. We start to notice the beauty, the wonder, and the magic that surrounds us. We find ourselves smiling more, laughing more, and loving more. Joy and gratitude are like two wings that lift us up and carry us above the storms of life. They remind us that we're not alone, that we're not forgotten, and that we're not forsaken. In Psalm 100, we're invited to enter His gates with thanksgiving and His courts with praise. Give thanks to Him and bless His name. This is a call to cultivate joy and gratitude in our daily lives, to focus on the goodness of God, and to celebrate His love and kindness. Compassion and empathy are two emotions that deepen our connection with others and with God. These emotions allow us to see beyond ourselves, to understand the struggles of others, and to love with a deeper love. When we choose to be compassionate and empathetic, we create a sense of community, of belonging, and of connection. We begin to see the world through the eyes of others, and we start to care about their stories, their struggles, and their triumphs. In the Bible, we find numerous stories of Jesus' compassion and empathy towards others. He wept with those who wept. He laughed with those who laughed, and he loved with a love that was unconditional and unwavering. God invites us to follow in Jesus' footsteps, to be compassionate, to be empathetic, and to love with a love that changes the world. Anger is another emotion that God shares with us, but this time he reveals it as a catalyst for change and self-reflection. When we're angry, we're often reacting to something that's not right, something that's unfair, or something that's unjust. But what if we could channel that anger into a force for good? What if we could use it to stand up for what's right, to fight for justice, and to bring about change? God wants us to know that our anger can be redeemed, that it can be used for good, and that it can be a catalyst for transformation. In Psalm 119, we find David writing, "I am angry with my enemies. I will do what it takes to make things right." This is a prayer of righteous anger, where David channels his anger into a desire for justice and righteousness. Vulnerability is another secret that God shares with us. He invites us to embrace our weaknesses, to be honest about our struggles, and to build authentic relationships with others. When we choose to be vulnerable, we create a sense of safety, of trust, and of connection with others. We begin to see that we're not alone, that we're not the only ones who struggle, and that we're not the only ones who are weak. God wants us to know that our weaknesses are not something to be ashamed of, but rather something to be celebrated. He created us to be vulnerable, to be weak, and to be dependent on Him. In 2 Corinthians, Paul writes, "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.'" This is a declaration of vulnerability, where Paul acknowledges his weaknesses and finds strength in God's power. Finally, God reveals the ultimate emotion: love. He calls us to live a life that's centered on love for ourselves, for others, and for Him. When we choose to love, we create a sense of community, of belonging, and of connection. We begin to see the world through God's eyes, and we start to care about His heart, His desires, and His will. God wants us to know that love is the greatest emotion of all, that it's the foundation of all relationships, and that it's the key to a life that's meaningful, purposeful, and fulfilling. In 1 John, we find a beautiful description of God's love. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in them. This is a declaration of God's love for us, and a call to live a life that's centered on love. As we conclude this journey into the secrets God shares about living on pure emotion, I want to leave you with a question. What if you started living a life that was authentic, emotional, and connected to God? What if you started embracing your emotions, expressing your true feelings, and living a life that overflows with love, compassion, and gratitude? What if you started seeing the world through God's eyes and began to care about His heart, His desires, and His will? I want to encourage you to take the next step, to start living a life that's centered on emotional honesty, healing, and balance. I want to invite you to share your thoughts on the secrets we've discussed today. How do you think God wants you to live a life that's connected to your emotions? If you want to explore more topics on emotional living, I want to invite you to check out our next video. And finally, if you want to stay connected with us, I want to invite you to subscribe to our channel. We're committed to creating content that inspires, that uplifts, and that transforms. God bless. See you on the next.
I appreciate you taking the time to watch and be here. If this video resonated with you or touched your heart, please consider supporting the channel by buying me a coffee. Simply scan the QR code or click the link in the description below. Your generosity keeps this mission alive. See you soon. God bless. If you're looking to overcome depression and anxiety by strengthening your spirituality, I invite you to check out my ebook, Soulful Transformations. Bridging Faith and Mind for Lasting Wellness, available on Kindle. This book combines cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, with biblical wisdom to help you manage stress, tackle anxiety, and find lasting peace through faith. It's not just about mental health. It's about deepening your relationship with God and transforming your life in ways that inspire others. Check the description below for the link and take the first step toward a life of spiritual and emotional wellness.